Welcome to Healing Wisdom, a Thursday morning talk show featuring guests sharing their stories and knowledge. We discuss the healing aspects of the arts, metaphysics, social justice, and adventure through all types of terrain. So join me, Pandora Peoples, here on WOMR 92.1 FM in Provincetown and WFMR 91.3 FM in Orleans. We're streaming worldwide at WOMR.org.
Wedding Janyo dia dala la mesawane. Anima sana sawane wuluda. Anim famara sawane wuluda. Anim dafe sawane wuluda.
Today we're joined by African Kora player Salieu Suso. We're happy to have him back with us on Healing Wisdom, talking about the Jali tradition, which is an oral history tradition that incorporates music and storytelling.
Jali's tradition is entertainment and edutainment. So last week I was in Washington, D.C. I was invited by the Gambian ambassador, to perform for their event called Passport DC. So every year they have ambassadors program that they run in about 1 month. So they open the doors for the people to come and explore the ambassadors with their country, the information about the visa and so forth.
Wonderful. And you have 2 albums that are out, both Griot and Source of Goodness. Tell us about your family and your Jali tradition and lineage.
The Jali tradition, like I said, lay on the entertainment and in entertainment. When I was growing up, I grew up the Jali family. That my father, my uncles, my cousins, my brothers, we all grew up together in the family of Jali. So by those days, we all come together as a team to learn the instrument and learn other traditions. So specifically, my father will teach us, Kora in the evening, sometimes in the morning, when we are not in the farm or when we are not learning the Quran or learning the English. So then my father will give us, make a time for us, to learn the instrument. So that as the time goes on, I growing up, I started traveling with my dad and my mom. So it's a part of a tradition that Jali in the springtime, when there's no rain, harvester, people have a harvester, and that's the time people enjoy, the appreciation of the harvest. Thank to the Allah God that they have a good harvest. Those time, so people need to have some entertainment. So in the springtime, so that's why my father used to travel from village to village, and we all with him, and then performing at night, in the evening and afternoon he teaches instrument, and at night he performs. So from there we learn how to perform, and also because while sometimes playing, my father performing and he narrate the stories, and those times we learning from him the stories and histories, because whatever family he goes, he stay there.
So were these songs, were they part blessing of the crops? Tell us about the spiritual aspects of the Kora music and the storytelling.
Spiritual aspect of the Kora music, that goes back, during the time of the Manding Empire. So the empire of the Manding has 3 branches. Those 3 branches, one of the branch that is the time the Kora was invented was Kabu Empire. So that Kabu Empire, so those days when the Kora was making entertainment for the kingdom, that's why they even call it Court Griot. So Court Griot, that's the griot, that's a Jali, Court Jali, that's a Jali that, perform during the session of the court or before the session started, because the spirituality of the sound of the music will, help the king to make a decision. It's like a healing, his, in terms of his thinking. So that's why the king will invite the griot to come to start, music first, to get feeling of, sense of well-being. So that's why they call it Court Griot. So in those days, the king, when they listen to the Kora, because sometimes people have a very powerful, how they call it, very powerful spirituality. Because some people have they are very powerful in the sense of when they stand up, to say something. So if you are a king or you are a judge or something, sometimes when times of the court, people prepare to face you. They come with their knowledge. So that makes you nervous a little bit. If you listen to the spiritual music, that will take away for your nervousness or whatever anxiety is within yourself. That's why the Kora has a special spirituality, power. Apart from that, even they use it to entertain the soldiers that went to the war and come back with the wounded. So when they come back, because even before they go, because of the Kora, the powerful of the sound, they want to get entertained from the king's castle. So they want to get entertained, so to hear the instrument, so they can feel the spirituality of themselves. So sometimes some of them, they will make promise because of the power of the sound. They'll make a promise to the king. Oh, my king, when I go to the war, I'll bring you 4 slaves. I'll bring you 10 slaves because of the pledge for that. And when they come back, the king will bring them together again. The leader perform those ones that warriors that had a good performance, and the ones that are wounded also, the Jali will sing for them. So that's why they call it healing music.
And I can see it inspiring all kinds of devotion and healing all kinds of wounds.
This one's called Jimbasang in Mandingo, which means upbeat. This one is traditional. That harmonize the lower strings.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that you're palm muting with your left hand, that's awesome. Oliva Bolanyala Dunia Badendin Munajon Mela Balon Jonta la Balona Tulo Deba Kola Siba Kokumomoe Dalisabola Mume Wani Me Ya Teganyang Halibaji Goteba Malibara Kanda Kolemba Malanya Bali
kongola bibi daramo le wonin fatu jawara bedendin dinyaro bibi afatu sise sire jamme kema kibiro basan jawale wa bubakari haidara nambal masuku wonin nafatu dure nyamo kunundam musike badara. Wodlaba fulo kilila ne fulo jema fulo bulanya wonje fulo simone sira dem pulo wulata pulo fenata pulo jamata lalo sira dem pulo itala ni jondan suso badiyata musa molo bande mamari umma alin jali bamba suso mamari umma dunia suso kunna balle kunna yille mubadi maluti.
You're listening to Healing Wisdom. This is Pandora Peoples. We're speaking with Jali storyteller and Kora player Salieu Suso. Salieu has been sharing with us how his family lineage goes back through the ages. The tradition of Jali began as Court Griots, where Jali storytellers, through their music playing and poetry, entertained kings and helped them find a sense of well-being so they could make good decisions. They also helped warriors be in the right mindset for war to motivate them and inspire them. And when they came back from war, to feel good and especially help injured warriors to heal. I was listening to a proud Islamic American talking about how many people from West Africa who were enslaved by colonizers brought Islam to the United States before it even was founded. So we were talking about your event for Ramadan recently.
I immigrated here, first time was 1989. 1989 I immigrated here, and then I started. My first performance was Guangzhou, 1990 in the summer. Because when I get here, I met one of our elder African drummer. His name is Papalaji Kamara. He was very famous here. He has a lot of students. He teaches a lot. All these djembe players here in America. He's the first teacher. He's the first teacher, and he teaches djembe and he teaches dance. He teaches Islam, and he even have a lot of friends that he helped them to convert to the Islam. Yeah, when I got here, I met him, and then he was telling everybody this is the griot, because he himself has a balafon. He played djembe, but he has a balafon. He has a kora. Because of the tradition, he keep all these instruments within himself, so that he can tell the stories to the people. But when he got me, he's like, now I don't have to tell you anything. There's a griot here now. This is Salieu Suso. He's the Kora player. He comes from the family of the Jali family. So he can, now we're going to work with him, and he can, whatever question you might have, you can ask him. So those days, and all the people they salute me, Assalamu alaikum. All his students, and it looked like everybody like him as the work he do and the Islam, because every time he when the time for the Eid celebration, and he let everybody celebrate with him. So that make a lot of people, converted to Islam. So it is a very good time of the when I arrive, and I start with my friends, and they ask me questions about music and Islam, and I tell them like I tell you. So, and they love it.
And that really falls in line with the whole way that Islam has spread over West Africa, right? Because it's been very peaceably, not only were there pacifist Islamic folks in the Middle Ages like Al-Hajj Salim Suwari, and then early on in the 20th century, there was Amadou Bamba. From what I understand, in terms of the spread of Islam in Africa, particularly West Africa, it was through education and providing resources or leading by example, and there was just this belief that religion should be, and that Islam should be spread, right, through peaceful means and by leading a very high life with high ideals, right? And so your friend and your teacher, right, embodied that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because that whole journey started Timbuktu. Timbuktu is one of the prominent university of Islam in Africa. So is when even still today, when the European goes there, and then they found a lot of old scripts and handwriting, for the Quran and the other books. So it had been the history of the Manding Empire for, since the beginning of the Manding. So that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think like Islam just come, unexpectedly, but Islam has been, in the Timbuktu, the university has been there for many, 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 even before, like Salim Suwari, you mentioned before him, because when he came from the Hajj in Mecca, that's why he landed first, and then he stayed there for some time before he found his own, village. Yeah.
And it's said that he went there like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Middle Ages, which was a lot of walking.
Those days, there's no transportation. Not even a car, so or special plane. So they take it, journey for their foot. So sometimes they take them like 1 year, 2 years. Some of them who have power, have animals like a camel or donkeys and horses. So they use those things, to travel. So to have those animals, to travel, you have to be rich. Yeah. Like Hajj Salimu is one of them, and also Mansa Musa. I don't know if you heard about Mansa Musa. Yeah, Mansa Musa is also, he is one of the charismatic, powerful rich man that had changed the gold price in Egypt back in those days. He make it 12 Hajj. He make it 12 Hajj because before he become a Muslim, he go to the Mecca as a part of his lineage. He said he goes back to trace his ancestry to Mecca. So when he go and he take the things that his ancestors do back in those days, because back in those days ancestors are not Muslim, so they don't practice Muslim. So when he found out that the Muslim is the one that religious that he's supposed to be, then he converted to become a Muslim. So then he start going back again to make Hajj, because before when he go traditionally and take the old tradition In Mandinka, we call it Corte. Corte, which is in the voodoo, they call it in the voodoo tradition. So, but when he do that for 6 years, and he found out that the Islam is the best for him, and he converted, and then he go back again to do Hajj for 6 times. So when the Jali or Griot pressed him for his story, they said, he did 12 times in Mecca. So that's no one who did, like what the way he did. Because at the first time when he was going there, he landed in Egypt. So where his means are finished, because the money he has is all gone. So he asked the Egyptian king to lend him the money, so to reach his goal to the Mecca. So when he come back, then he will pay him back. So he trusts him, lend him the money. He went continue to his journey to the Mecca. When he come back, he go back to Africa. When he went back to Africa, that's the time he took a bunch of golds and come to pay the king of Egypt that give the gold price down in Egypt. So that's why they call him the first richest man in the world. His story is still in the books.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That is quite a bit of gold.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of gold. West Africa is predominantly Muslim, and a lot of the traditional ceremonies, so predate Islam and incorporate these earth and animal-centered indigenous beliefs. So can you talk about the traditional ceremonies and music that predated Islam and how it did or didn't integrate?
Yeah, the traditional ceremonies in my part of area that I came from, called Manding, which is represented at the first empire of the Malian Empire, the Songhai Empire, that goes Cabo Empire, represented all these countries: Mali, Gambia, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Burkina Faso, Africa Coast. All these part of, it's a part of tradition. So in those days, the tradition of ceremony, you invited Griot or Jali, because every one of these countries have Jali. So sometimes it could be a Kora player, it could be a balafon player, it could be a talking drummer, it could be, something else. But those are the Jalis, Griots that, kept the tradition, alive. So when the Islam come, some of those traditions is kept because they don't violate any kind of Islam religion. So it's like, the thing is that as long as you keep your tradition, you keep your deen, which is Islam, you keep your timing of the prayers and pay your dues and not to violate anybody, to cause problems in the society. So your tradition is good. So, and then that become the music become so peaceful in the society, because whenever even there's a problem, when there's a music, that people get away from the problem and come to the music. Every time when the music playing, there's a story. So that's what people believe, that this tradition should be kept in the society, not be abandoned.
Cheda kana majo, cheda changel kana majo, ne majo baby zala fildu. Cheda kana majo bang, Chala kana majo, jedo jungle kana majo, de majo baby chala fidu.
This is Healing Wisdom. I'm Pandora. We're speaking with Kora player and traditional Gambian Jali, Salieu Suso. I asked him what his favorite tradition or holiday is.
Well, I have a couple of them, which is Eid al-Fitr, which is one day Ramadan and Eid al-Adha. That's Eid al-Adha. That's the tradition of Prophet Abraham. We call Prophet Ibrahim, when he was, sacrificed. He was sacrificing, and then God gave him, sacrifice instead of his own son. So that day also Muslims celebrate that day that date back to maybe, 5,000 years or, 4,000 years ago. So that's one of the traditions that people eat a lot of meat because every family kill a ram or every family members. But I like Ramadan much more better because Ramadan time, it's like everybody kept yourself in your spiritual being, keeping fasting. And during those days, time of the fasting, you build up your spirituality, and your health becomes so strong because of the fasting. When the fasting ends, the celebration is so much powerful because you come with the energy that you reserve all along for 1 month. So that energy comes out one day, and then you feel so much powerful for yourself. I love that. When that time of the celebration, I feel good.
What are your thoughts on the Sufi tradition, the more mystical side of Islam, right? The Sama musical tradition. How does it compare with the Jali tradition?
It's all the same. Yeah, it's all the same because when I was growing up in Gambia, my fathers and uncles, our fathers, they usually, Jalia was, part of the kings. So when the kingdom was declined, so the Sufis become, interested in the Jali to work with them. See, you can find a Sufi has a whole bunch of students, in the compound, but in the evening, after all the, learning the Quran and the kids has, finished the day learning, and the Sufi would have a Jali next to him to entertain him a little bit. So it's like the same, with Sufi, because when I came here and I get invited, many times to Sufi mosque where they do music, and I say, wow, this is similar to my tradition, back in the days. So all Sufism is like connected. Tradition is very important when you keep it up, because when people see you on the track of the tradition, they will like to support you. So we thank for NESCA to letting us, keep our tradition in New York City.
Well, thank you so much, Salieu Suso, for joining us today. Folks can go get your albums at salieususo.com.
Yes.
and check out other things there. And they can follow you on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I'll be linking your name to this broadcast. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Very welcome, Pandora.
Because if you think about the singing, the translation, I was singing about the family of Janke Wali and the family of his warriors.
You've been listening to Healing Wisdom at Outermost Radio. All of our shows are podcasts at WOMR.org. Also check out healingwisdomradioshow.com.